Got it. Okay.
Okay, welcome everybody to the February 3rd meeting of the Sag Harbor Village Harbor Committee. Doris, do you have the flag? We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, I will be sharing the flag. There we go.
Okay. I pledge allegiance
Congratulations.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow.
All right. So we have here in attendance, we have Lily Fell, Herb Samble, John Parker, Will Sharp, myself, Mary Ann Eddy. Hillary Thayer is not with us tonight. She could.
Yes, she is.
Oh,
Oh.
actually, she is logging in. Wait,
Excellent.
thought I saw her. Okay.
All right.
Hi,
And-
I'm here.
Oh, you
Hi,
are here.
Hillary.
Great.
Yes,
Okay.
Hey, Hillary.
Hi.
And Hillary Thayer and Chick Voorhees, our consultant from Nelson Pope and Voorhees, and our counsel, Fred Thiel. The first thing we can do is have like a public discussion. If there's anybody from the public who would like to address the Harbor Committee for a maximum of 2 or 3 minutes, please let us know. Please raise your hand.
I don't see any hands,
Any
Marianne.
hands? Okay.
No.
So onto the issue of minutes. We have a little collection of minutes here. So Fred, I'm concerned. I mean, sometimes the minutes just say that they were reviewed and discussed by the board, the application. Is that sufficient? Do we have?
Well,
to
I mean,
more detail?
we do tape everything, right? So,
Correct.
yeah, so we have a verbatim transcript, which, by the way, I think has to be posted, while we're in the pandemic, doing meetings virtually, remotely.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I think minutes should be as descriptive as possible, and that's certainly as well as accurate. But the key part here is to have the record that backs that up, and as long as we are retaining and keeping recordings of these meetings, what I worry about as the attorney is we have litigation from time to time. We have a case we're going to discuss later tonight. You want to make sure that we have a complete record of everything, and as long as we have those video transcripts or audio.
Yes, we do.
That's what's important from my perspective as the attorney.
Okay, fine. So then, have you all, members of the committee, had a chance to look at the minutes that Doris so kindly sent to us again?
Yes.
We had, okay. Starting with October, is everybody sort of up to speed and willing to take a vote on whether or not we accept them as presented? Please say no if the answer is no. Okay, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of the October meeting as written? Motion.
I'll make a
please.
motion.
Thank you, Lily. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay, one day. Next one, of course, is November. So has everybody had an opportunity to look at this report? There was minutes from the November meeting?
Mhm.
Yes. And I did
Yes.
I did review with
Can you
Doris.
tell me no if it's a no? And we'll
So I was going to say, I did have the opportunity to go over the October and November ones with Doris and give her notes on those back last year. So I think those were corrected or added to.
Were they? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Is there anybody who's not comfortable voting on accepting these minutes? Will you please indicate that? All right, will somebody make a motion to accept these minutes for the November meeting as presented?
I'll move.
I'll
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Moving on to December. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at these minutes? If not, please raise your hand or say so. Okay. Any questions about the minutes? If not, may I have a motion to accept these minutes as written?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. And on to January. Everybody had an opportunity to review these minutes. Any questions?
I had an opportunity, but I didn't actually go over them and compare with my notes yet, so.
How long would that take you to do?
Today, right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah,
I don't know, 2 minutes.
yeah, well,
I could do it, probably do it later, do it at the end if you want.
okay, that would be great. Why don't we just table that? Somebody remind me if I forget that we're going to go back and review those minutes at the end of the meeting. I'll put it on
Okay.
the agenda, but who knows if that's. Okay. So the next thing is we have a couple of decisions here. It probably annoys you, Chick, but would you go ahead and sort of give us, the highlights, the major points of the decision for 34 Long Point Road?
Sure. And was the hearing on 34 Long Point closed?
Oh, I assume so. It's not under old business.
I believe so.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, it's under
good.
decision and it was, I have notes here from the last meeting from Heather. It was tabled to the February 3rd meeting. So when it's under decision, it has been closed. The public hearing has been closed.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. You said it was tabled. Was it tabled as a closed piece of business or what does tabled mean? Does that only apply to open discussions?
Let me check. Hold on.
Doris, check and see if if there was a motion and a second to close. My recollection on this was that I'm not sure we closed this hearing, is my recollection. So we may need to close it first. But if you've got in your notes there that there was a motion and a second to close, I will definitely stand corrected.
Okay.
What I'm reading from the notes is read a letter in regards to covenants and restrictions as written on the draft decision. On a motion by Herb Sample, seconded by John Parker, the board tabled the wetlands permit draft decision prepared by MPV. So I think it would be back to the, that was December.
That was December. Yes.
So what, did we close it in November?
I thought you wanted to see a planting plan, a more detailed planting plan. That's why it's been sent.
But it might have been closed, subject, Is it easy to just like vote to close the discussion again, or is that like irregular, Fred?
Listen, I would suggest you entertain a motion just to be certain that we do a motion to close the hearing
Fine.
tonight, absent any record to the contrary. And I think that's a good thing, a positive thing to do.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the public hearing on 34 Long Point
If it
Road?
was tabled, I just, do you have to allow the public or can it just be closed?
Oh,
No, we can just close it now, Chick.
Okay.
Because it had been
Applicants,
open for a while, with the virtual meetings, we have been leaving the whole hearing open after for at least 10 days after, but that's after the first hearing. So we could close it tonight and then render a decision.
Right.
All right.
And by the way, there was
Marianne,
only
if
one.
it's-
Yeah.
If it's okay, I mean, just procedurally, we did hear from the applicant at the last meeting. The outstanding item had to do with the covenanted buffer area.
Right,
We receive a plan, and that plan is incorporated into a draft decision once we get to that point. And Mike Shiano is here tonight representing the applicant. But just before it's closed, I thought it'd be good to kind of summarize where I believe we are, just in
okay.
material submitted and what happened since the January meeting.
So should we ask you to do that before we ask Mike if he has any comments? We haven't closed the meeting yet, so, or closed the discussion.
That's all I was going to say, was to indicate those items.
Okay. Well, Fred, is it inappropriate to ask Mike if he has anything that he wants to tell the board at this point?
Well, we haven't closed it yet, so if he
Right.
has any comments he wants to make, that's fine.
Right. Mike,
I
do
don't
you
have
have any
anything,
comment?
Mike Shiano from InterScience Research Associates on behalf of the applicant. I don't, my recollection was actually that we did close it. I didn't want to interrupt everyone talking. I believe that we did close it at the November hearing, and then it was, a decision was going to be written. And the reason, as Herb noted, the reason why it was held over was because we had to, Chick and I had to discuss the plan, because I had submitted a letter. My client had asked the board to consider whether or not a buffer was necessary. You guys did conclude that it was. So then we had to get a plan together in order to show you what the buffer would be that you would be approving. So the decision itself was tabled until we've submitted a new plan, and that's where we are now.
And wasn't there also discussion about whether or not your client would accept meets and bounds written into the decision so that it would follow the property through ownership changes? Confused here, maybe I'm thinking. of the wrong-
I don't remember that, but we would get, so I believe that the process for getting everything, for getting the covenant actually written at the end of the day would be that we have a planting plan tonight that shows where the buffer is, and then we would get it shown on a survey. And if you wanted meets and bounds description to be written up as part of the covenant approval process that we would work with Fred on, we could do that. So I would be fine with getting a meets and bounds description written up for that buffer, as long as the harbor committee is okay with what we're proposing for a buffer. So.
Okay. Chick, do you want to respond?
No, I'm satisfied at this point. We do have the plans. They have been properly incorporated into the permit that will be discussed as the next item. And I think that was what the committee was looking for.
Okay, so Fred, tell me, I think it's now appropriate that we close the public hearing.
We do that just to be safe. I'm going to look back at the minutes that we haven't approved yet, just to see if there's anything that tells us what happened there.
I just scanned through it and it was a little murky. But why don't we
Yeah.
just go ahead and,
Let's make the motion. That way we're safe.
okay. May I have a motion, please, to close the public hearing on 34 Long Point Road?
I move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Lily. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And Doris, if you could allow me to share my screen, I can bring up that draft permit.
Okay, hold on. I will do that. Are you ready? It's,
Still not allowing it. There we go.
it should be,
Yes.
okay.
That's not what I want.
Pictures of your family vacation?
No. thank goodness.
Careful there, Chick.
How do we get there from here? Here we go. I hope.
All right, there we go.
All right, so this is the permit that was circulated earlier in the week for your consideration. It has a description of the project pursuant to a couple of emails and just paying attention to detail. There is no reference to elevated boardwalks. There is reference to installing gravel footpaths around the house. And of course, in all cases, this will reference a plan specifically that does not show elevated boardwalks. It shows gravel paths. So I think we're consistent there. We also have a 31,105 square foot variable width covenanted non-disturbance, non-fertilization buffer. And beyond that, there's an additional 12,502 square feet of native vegetation that will be retained pursuant to the landscape and restoration plan. We established some background just in terms of the property, its flood zone, zoning, lots of things of that nature. Basic findings outlining just the key elements of the application. Seeker status as a type 2 action, waterfront consistency, just it's an existing single family lot. So there's really no consideration there. And then the conditions of the approval, which are standard, but we do reflect some of the key elements with respect to the buffer and protection of species of special concern and so forth. We also have inspection and performance for the buffer that it will be essentially effective and successful for a three-year period. And we do have provisions for covenanting the buffer. We've referenced all the latest plans, and the term of the permit is for 2 years. So that's here for your consideration. It does reflect the latest plans, and I'm here if there are any questions.
Questions, anybody? Okay. So if there are no questions, may I ask for a motion to approve this decision as written by Chick Voorhees?
I move.
Thank you, Herb. And second,
Second.
was that Will?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Will. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mike, you got your permit.
Thank you very much for everyone's time and patience
Yeah.
with all of this. It was a pleasure working with all of you on this. So thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
One quick thing, Mike, we do
Yes.
have procedures, instructions for covenants.
Yes?
I think I'm not sure if I included it as an attachment. So I can send that separately, or Doris can.
I can send it with the
Oh,
approval
that'd be
letter.
great, Doris. Thank you
Yes.
so
You're
much.
That would
welcome,
be
Chick.
perfect. Thank you very much, Chick and Doris. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
Okay, have a good night. Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Okay, the second decision that we have on the agenda is 25 Bluff Point Road. I don't think there's any doubt that this is a closed hearing, yes?
Yeah.
Chick, would you like to just go through some high points of the decision that you've written, the draft?
Sure. We went through this quite extensively throughout a number of hearings. The applicants represented here, and they were responsive to requests over the course of the past few months. This is currently a vacant lot, but it has an old bulkhead on it. And so the proposal is to construct a new home, swimming pool, fencing. All of that meets the setbacks that are in the code, chapter 285. And that's always an important consideration for this committee. Then we really looked into great detail at the bulkhead itself to replace it with a minimum of disturbance It is what's there is currently in poor condition, but the applicant worked with the committee to limit the area of disturbance just to the area for the dead men and tie rods behind it. And we looked extensively at the existing vegetation to remain. You remember the cedar tree, and
Right.
there's some good vegetation on the property that will be within a covenanted 50-foot buffer area, which will include the area landward of the bulkhead that will also be restored, where the area immediately behind the bulkhead needs to be disturbed. So I think we worked hard on this. There's also soundings. There's a floating dock that's proposed. There are cable stays to prevent the dock from resting on the bottom. Of course, other agency permits are needed for this. It did meet all the criteria that we typically look for. We do have stormwater and dry wells being installed. An IA system is being installed, and the 734 square feet of revegetation plus the covenanted area, actually not plus, which is included in the 50-foot covenanted area. So that's all described in the project description. We referenced the background in terms of zoning and the lot itself, tax map numbers and so forth. The basic findings that we are consistent with setbacks, and there are buffers that are going to be retained, and that we do meet the statutory requirements of 285-9. Again, a type 2 action, again, consistent with the LWRP. The standard conditions referencing each of the items, and siltation booms and erosion control and protection of special concern species. And then finally, the buffer, which will be subject to the performance requirements over a 3-year period. We've referenced the proper plans and all of the most up-to-date documentation that we have, and then the term of the permit. So that, as I said, has been extensively reviewed. I was asked to prepare the decision at the last meeting, and that's before you tonight for your consideration.
Any questions on on the part of any of the committee members? No? No. May I have a motion to approve this decision as written and presented?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Lily. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Will. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Of course, same thing on this one, if you would also include the covenant CNR instructions.
Yes, I'll do that, Chick.
We attach it. I think these two slipped through without it.
I will do that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Chick.
Yeah, it's probably better if it's actually attached to the permit when we can, right?
Yeah, I mean, Doris, you could add it to the PDF file, so it's part of the record as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Usually I do that, and apologies for not including.
Okay. Apology accepted. Onward.
Well, thank you.
So now we move into that part of the agenda that deals with old business, public hearings. And we have 36 John Street on the agenda, but is there anybody here to speak to this application?
I don't see,
Chick, would you like to bring us up to speed? I know you've had some conversations.
Sure, and I think we did receive a letter. It was probably last week or the week before. I did speak with Kathleen, the permit process person, expediter, and they know that this has been adjourned over multiple meetings. I did seek to get an update because we hate to have things carried over on the agenda, but there are some difficulties with tracking down surveyors and being responsive to the last request for information from the committee. So they did ask our indulgence for one more month. They indicated that they do have someone aboard. They are preparing information. It's expected before the March meeting. And they did send a letter with some explanation and asked that we consider it for adjournment again.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, issues? may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting until the March 3rd, I believe it is, correct, Doris?
Correct. Yes,
The
March
March
3rd.
3rd meeting.
I'll make a
move.
motion.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Herb. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now moving on to 188 Redwood, and Doris, you informed me today that they had asked to have this application tabled until March 3rd, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Mary Ann, I can also offer a quick update if it would be helpful to the members.
Absolutely. Please do.
So this was the hearing for the hard surface bulkhead at 188 Redwood. After the last meeting, I did have a number of discussions with the applicant, their consultant, and other professionals. They have been looking at a number of alternatives. They took our input from the last meeting to heart, and they're looking for a solution that would not involve a hard face bulkhead and would involve or incorporate some of the elements that we discussed.
Good
So
job.
to an actual hearing, but I thought it would be good to just let the committee know that that is in progress. That's why they adjourned. They're taking our input very seriously and looking at a number of options, which I think will be responsive.
Great. And
Could I respond? There was a question, I think, in the last meeting about this, in that when you zoomed out, you could see that there were several other bulkheads, I guess, to the west and towards town, towards the wharf. And it brought up the question of how much do we look at the larger picture on some of these applications? Because if you take one at a time, I understand that, and maybe that's all we're allowed to do. But if you look at the larger picture, there's a lot of there are a lot of problems, and I don't know that the DEC or anybody has a game plan for that area. But one could imagine in the next 30 years that it's going to be pell-mell, one residence after another going through this stuff. And that's why I think we discussed a little bit about, is there a way of looking at this in a larger context?
Well, I feel that we do that, certainly from the standpoint of precedent and ensuring that any decisions that's made on a site-specific basis considers at least the neighboring properties and the precedent that the decision may create. Certainly we don't study all of the shoreline area, although the applicant did present information that I thought was useful and informative, maybe not necessarily for this application, but just documenting some wetland loss in that area, and expressed some opinions about the reasons for that. So, I will tell you, after the last meeting, both Brant and I, and Brant Reiner, my associate, is on with us, did speak to our team that's working on the LWRP to make them aware of some of the shoreline influences that were discussed from a bigger picture, Will, and that is being factored into some of the recommendations as they relate to coastal resources and the overall LWRP. So I think, in combination with looking at this, looking at neighboring properties, looking at hardened shorelines and some of the impacts and concerns over them, and then getting into the detail of this neighboring properties, that we are, considering those factors. But if you have any other input, we're happy to consider it.
so, Will, I don't think that we are a rule or a code making body. I think it's for us to take what we have, the LWRP and Chapter 285, and try to see how those rules, codes, whatever apply to particular applications. But I don't know that we have the ability to, we could perhaps recommend something to the village board, but they are the ones that would be, I think, coming out with some kind of overarching guidance beyond what 285 and the LWRP gives us to work with.
And we have standards for issuance of a permit that we apply to all applications. And that's really why we're taking a very hard look at this one.
Right.
But good to hear that they're listening to your comments, Chip.
Well, we have quite a bit of influence on that because we're working on the plan.
Right.
So as we learn things and some of these things come to light, it's good to incorporate them into longer range planning documents.
And I give Chick enormous amount of credit, but I also think it's all of you all who spoke and paid attention to what was an hour and a half. Was it 2 hours? I don't know. It went on for a long time. And, you know, I think Mr. Hamilton offered to cut it short, but it seemed like they should have their day, quote unquote, in court or in front of the committee. And he took advantage of that, not unpleasantly so. He just, I think, was able to fully explain why he was recommending what he was to the application. And I think, on the other hand, I think that we were all free to ask as many questions and make as many comments as we did, which was exhausting. But I think it was helpful in the end. I think that the applicant felt that they had their ability to present their thinking on the issue. So I don't know if that answers your question, Will,
It
but
does. Thank you.
yeah.
I want
So,
to provide that update. It is obviously adjourned by the applicant. We expect to receive more materials and I'll keep everyone up to date, or Doris will, as we receive materials.
okay. So may I have a motion to table 188 Redwood until March 3rd?
I'll make the
I'll make
motion.
that.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
please. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Great. And now we have 88 Redwood, and this was a last minute development where they have also asked to table until March 3rd.
Correct.
Right. So I think you all remember last month we were asking, they said it would be really helpful to be able to have, you know, the new structure superimposed on this footprint of the old structure. And once we started talking about that, we realized that we definitely had some problems that we didn't at first either acknowledge or see. So they have asked to table it. So can I have a motion to table this until March 3rd?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Lily. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay. So. Any other discussion items on the part of the public, or any of the, you brought up your issue. Will anybody else in the committee have anything that they'd like to discuss before we adjourn? Okay,
We should
Marianne?
make the motion that we are, you know, you have, in the public session, you have to make the motion that we're going into executive session to discuss
Okay.
litigation, so.
okay. All right.
Marianne, just before that, sorry.
Yeah,
we
okay.
have to go back to review the minutes.
Oh,
January 6th.
good. John, are you
Thanks,
ready?
Doris.
This is your moment. Thank you, Doris.
You're welcome.
The first thing I noticed, well, in terms of a problem with the minutes, was that I voted on 2 items according to the minutes, but my notes show I wasn't here.
Well, you might have been on Zoom.
No,
You were
my
late
note
to
says-
that meeting.
My note says missed first 2 items. It's a minor issue, but
Okay,
if you're asking me to be particular, that was,
be particular. So
let me come back here to where it is.
which agenda item is this?
Hold on. would be 34 Long Point.
It doesn't have you listed. It has Herb as the mover, the seconder Lily, and oh yeah, it does have Parker listed.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see what we're looking at, Doris?
Yes, yes. So I'll remove John Parker from the eyes.
Right. And is there another situation like that, John?
Hold on. My note said there were two of them. Okay, okay, 34 Long Point and 15 Long Point.
Okay. I
My
see
note
that.
says I started with 36 John Street.
All right. Yes, all right. So if you can remove John's names from those two decisions.
I will do
Doris?
that. Yes.
Anybody else have a question on this? I think there's some typos in it, but I think we've all agreed that this isn't going to be like an impeccable document. So with that,
And I would just add on Redwood, I mean, since we did spend 2 hours just discussing it was it the 180? The 188, I think, that just add a note that there was a very long discussion of the
well,
bulkhead.
there was something like that. It said from the audience, Lee Spiegel and Jane Cardella were present. Mr. Hamilton presented the proposed project. Yeah, we could say that there was a lengthy
There was a
discussion.
very long discussion of possible alternatives to extending the bulkhead, and the applicant was asked to consider those alternatives.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, folks? All right, then with those 3 changes, may I have a motion to accept these minutes?
I'll make
Thank
the
you.
motion.
Second,
Second.
thank you, Will. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
well done.
Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
John, I love it when you take a look at these minutes before we do. They're good comments, and you do keep notes. I don't keep notes. I'm sort of running the meeting, so, and I'm a bad note taker anyway. All right, so now I think, Fred, what you're suggesting is that make a comment that we're going to adjourn this meeting and we're going to go into executive session, correct?
Yeah, for the purposes of litigation, and that litigation is the Article 78 relating to the denial of the dock for 8 John Street. So that's the matter that we were discussing.
All right, do I need to repeat that, or did you just
No,
say?
I think that's good, as long as Doris gets it in the record.
Okay,
We're good.
all right. May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so Doris has sent
Yes.
us separate instructions for getting on the second Zoom for the executive session.
All right. So I'm
Cheers.
going to end this meeting. Okay. And see
Bye,
you.
everybody.
See you in a minute.
Bye-bye.
Are we doing it right
Sure.
now, or are we waiting till
Yes.
6 o'clock?
We're
Right.
doing it right now.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.